Ancestors, hold us near as we look to reclaim the power of this space around us and within us. Help us to look around our space with discerning eye so that we can recognize what needs to go and what needs to stay within our space to help elevate the energy for ourselves and the others who may live there. Ancestors, surround us in your most absolute sacred light as we journey through this vision of wellness and connectivity, both inside and outside of our dwellings in this land. Ashe.
Spend so much time searching for me inside an empty space. Instead of watching, I did not pay attention to what it was that I should see. Maintain all you are. Stay on your throne through delirium.
All right, so welcome to So today for this Sacred Woman Studies, we will not be looking at the Sacred Woman book. We're going to be looking in my book, the Punani Proverbs Womb Healing Workbook. And in this one, I do talk about sacred space, cleansing the space physically and cleansing the space spiritually. So we're going to be turning to... It's like in the page, it's almost page 300, a little before that. I don't really, I number the books, but I also change the workbook all the time, so whatever. So yours is maybe different if you happen to have one. So on this page, I start with the cinnamon broom. This is right after talking about the stovetop air cleansers, and then I move on to cinnamon brooms, and then after is Florida water. So we start with a quote, a Bible quote, the only Bible quote that I put in this one, and it reads, "Take the finest spices, 12 pounds of liquid myrrh, half that amount, that is 6 pounds of sweet smelling cinnamon, 6 pounds of sweet smelling cane, and 12 pounds of cassia. Weigh all of these by the holy place measure. Also take 4 quarts of olive oil and mix all of these things like a perfume to make a holy olive oil. This special oil must be put on people and things to make them ready for service to God." And this was Exodus 30:22 to 25. So I'm gonna just go ahead and read what I wrote so that we can make sure that we're not I'm not going to repeat myself too much. "Hung or leaned by the door, cinnamon brooms have long been used in hoodoo and folk magic traditions. They are said to sweep away obstacles and negative energy from the home or workplace while drawing in luck and prosperity. The uplifting and joyous smell of cinnamon in the home gives a soulful, warm feeling to all who enter. The use of brooms spiritually are found in Africa, where straw brooms are kept on altars, and this tradition carried throughout the diaspora. Sweeping motions are often seen in ceremonial African and diasporic dancing. The symbolism behind sweeping away the old and unfulfilling is even found in African American tradition of jumping the broom as well, the official wedding ceremony of enslaved Black people who were not allowed to legally marry. Traditionally, a handmade besom is made of pine and various cleansing herbs such as sage or lavender, and after drying is then anointed with a special thick and aromatic oil. The oil described at the beginning of this section in Exodus 30 gives you a better idea of the concept of using a special blend of oils and herbs to create a rich and luxurious anointing oil or liquid. Whether in Exodus or conversation, people have long since been looking for ways to protect themselves, their family, and their home. Protecting the home is exactly what anointing and utilizing a cinnamon broom is all about. Let the ancient recipe from the Bible inspire you in creating your own precious blend for a scented broom. Okay, so the rest of this is how to make it, which I'm going to talk to you about in just a moment. Do you know what I just remembered? Queen Afua has a whole section on cinnamon brooms, so I'm probably gonna go ahead and try and find the book and find that in the book or whatever. I think that there was like a little paragraph in there that I was also supposed to read this week, so don't have to necessarily do exactly cinnamon. As I was saying, it can be a mixture It can be, we're going to be talking right now about how to make the cinnamon broom both the old-fashioned way with boiling the herbs and sticking the broom in and doing that multiple times to, you know, and then boiling it, you know, and dunking it in there and getting it to soak and absorb the essence of these plants. And then also the other way people do it is with essential oils, which I prefer to use it that way because it's such a light, wonderful scent, and I think it really you can also just be really creative with the scent because it's you can buy any essential oil any essential oils, but you have to be careful because if you don't know scents, you should stick with like one or two, you know, if you don't really know what you're doing, because it can go muddy real fast. But yes, so where was I going with this? All right, we were talking about, remember that the meaning behind your choice of herbs, spices, and decoration, that's the other thing. After you're finished, they're usually decorated and more amulets and symbolism is added to it for the protective element, and, you know, decorative elements as well. It should not only be based on other people's interpretations. So if you're not a fan of cinnamon or you have some other scent you'd prefer, utilize those scents, you know, make it your own so that when you sweep in your house, that scent is what occurs and it's yours, you know, it's unique to your space. So here we have, so your personal experiences and your personal preferences, so that goes for the flowers you hang on it, fragrance, decor, whatever. Don't necessarily feel limited by what you see other people do or what you think other people do with theirs. It's a new day, it's a new world, it's a new generation. You know, you can make it your own. So take the time to make your own special oil recipe for making a cinnamon broom that's unique to your home and can be passed along your own bloodline to your own children. Write down the ingredients in the recipe in your journal for quicker reference next time. So that can be in this book if you have it, in your grimoire or spell book, that type of thing. So you can do handmade or purchased. I wanted to show one that I've purchased that I really adore. Very well made. And this is just a little whisk broom for like the table, you know, or small things. And this one is by Natufi Handmade, Natufi. Natufi is on Amazon. You'll find this person on Amazon. And yeah, it's very excellent, very well made. And this one I haven't put anything on, so this is just a blank one that I had sitting. But typically my blend has like vanilla, peach, things like that, cinnamon, things like that. But I also, let's see, so you can also make them. I have directions for making them in here. I don't know if Queen has directions for making the broom itself in hers, though I do think she has the recipe in there. We'll see later. And then, but yeah, you can find ways to make them online too. If you want to make one that's like the one you put by your door, that's always a really wonderful idea. Go gather for yourself. Okay, so next you take the oils that you're going to use. So there is going to be your scented oils, which you've blessed, mixed, blessed, stirred, all that stuff. Then you're also going to add to that, or you can put this on, anoint it right before you put the scent. But you would also focus on your oils. I have some oils. So I have one from Big Liz Conjure. I don't know, you're probably not going to be able to see the label. And this one definitely you're not going to see the label. This is
Mama, a tummy.
No, this isn't the oil for your tummy right now. And then later we'll put oil.
Oil?
Mm-hmm.
Oil, okay.
Mm-hmm. So this one says fairy wall. It's okay, Tyra. It's okay. I will get the ants before we go inside. So this is a fairy wall of protection. Or should I say fiery? Is that how you say that word? Fiery wall of protection. It will be okay. And so you choose the condition oil that you are interested in, and that, you know, works for what you're doing. So like, let's say, you know, you're trying to protect your family, then you'd get a wall of protection oil.
Love them.
The thyroid keeps distracting me, but anyways, my point is just you know, choose it accordingly. Typically this is a protection thing. You know, other things people put on their brooms is, you know, the chicken foot, because that's also for protection. That, I mean, that's also to work against your enemies, but it's also for protection. So people will put that on the broom that hangs over their door, or it sits by the door, whichever broom it is, or, you know, on the altar. However, you know, basically you're going to be looking for that type of energy for the wellness of your home, for the, you know, goodness of your home, happiness of your home, protection of your home, and the people within it, and the energy within it. So that's really what we're looking for there. So yes, protection, prosperity, health, those are all really wise choices for condition oils to put on and anoint. So, you know, you can get a bowl and mix these all together and anoint one all at a time, or you can anoint each one at a time, you know, praying specific prayers for each condition oil, depending on how many you use, and finish off with your general prayers and the fragrance anointing oil. Finally, don't eat it though. Thank you. All right, so next you're going to use some disposable gloves, and you're going to, so you don't get the, you know, you can't just be getting oils in your skin like that. So you're going to use the gloves, and praying, you're going to massage the, you know, whatever these are called, the bristles or whatever, with your oil. You're going to thoroughly anoint it with oil. It's going to be anointed, okay, all shiny with the oil. Then you're going to, and if it's a big broom, you're going to need a plastic garbage bag. If it's this little one, you just need a little plastic bag. And then you put it in there and put it under the altar or under your bed, or wherever you can feel like, you know, depending on your situation, where you can put this, that it's in, you know, a dark space that's in some way sacred to you, and then can sit and soak for at least 2 weeks. You know, and you can take it out, like not out of the plastic, but out in, like, you know, I mean, if it's clear plastic, this would work, but I guess if it's like a black plastic bag, this would be pretty pointless. But you could take it, you know, to sit out in the sun or in the moon while you're like letting it soak during those times, and let it really absorb that energy that way. But it would have to be done afterwards if your bag is not clear, you know what I mean? So at any rate, your space was set up, you put the oils on, you're praying. It's really focused on the prosperity, the protection, the wellness of your family and your home. And then you soak it for the 2 weeks. When you're done, you can take it out and then decorate it with the painted chicken foot or plain chicken foot, with the yarn, beads, strings, ribbons, charms, herbs, that sort of thing. Let's see. And of course you called on your ancestors when you like set up the space and everything. And before, when you buy them, I forgot to mention, when you buy these, be sure to sprinkle it with some Flowda water before you start, just because, you know, you get it from anywhere, and like, this is a really wonderful brand, but you're not always gonna, you never know the energy with which your product was made, so it's best to always cleanse with a little Flowda water, whatever new thing you've gotten. You know, spray it, make a spray or sprinkle, and, you know, do your best to make sure it's spiritually cleansed before you start. So yeah, then you called in your ancestors. Make sure, you know, while you're rubbing it in, you're praying, you're humming, you're speaking blessings, you're, you know, it can just be like a low, deep melody from within. It can be a familiar tune. It can be words out loud. It can just be a chant. But make sure you're really working your energy, putting your effort into it. You're not just doing, you know, whatever while you're doing it and then expect protection. You know, you're gonna have a nice smelling broom, and it's gonna give you good energy in that way. But if you're really focused on this, that's what we're really looking for, is for you to be really focused on this. So if you are not Oh, and if you're going to do this one, first, before I finish off and go to the other way, the old-fashioned way, I guess. If you're going to use the oils, you usually refresh it 1 to 2 times a year. To refresh it between any of the once a year time, you would boil some water and dip it in really quick, and the hot water will tend to reactivate the essential oils. Let's see. The other thing you can do is to boil the herbs and, like I said, put it in. I'm pretty sure Queen's book said that, so I'm not going to go too much into that one right now. But yeah, when you decorate, tend to think in symbolism of 9s, West African symbolism, African American symbolism, your own personal symbolism, your own personal power colors, and consider, making little pieces of paper, rolling them up with sigils on it, and sticking those deep into the bristles. There's just, there's so many little ideas that you can do to really customize this and make it so that you have a really powerful tool in your cinnamon broom. And this is also a wonderful gift if you know someone who's getting married, if you know a couple who's getting married and they're starting a new home together, making this for them. If they have an anniversary or something like that, I mean, probably by then they'd have one. But if it's somebody who you think could be interested or is coming into this life, that would be a really powerful gift to give them as well, so that they can start working it. And then it's powerful also because it's from within the community, us gifting to each other. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was Flowda Wata. I did talk about cleansing the broom with that, and so it occurred to me, like, I should probably just give a real quick, same concept of putting in the energy while you do it, but just tell you how to do it. So you will need for this, first let me just read for you guys. It's a must-have around the home, especially as you transition and begin to have your spiritual life. This is for after you cleanse physically. You could run around your house just spraying everything down Florida water, and spiritually you'd be set. When you get those new things from the thrift store or from somewhere else, those used items or whatever, also using Florida water can help. Florida water can be added to your bath. It can be poured for libations. Literally, the uses are endless. Florida comes from the Spanish word meaning florido, meaning full of flowers. And this product, you see it in botanicas, spiritual shops. It's usually the generic kind that you'd have to bless pretty much anyways when you get at home, because, who knows, really. But it's wise to keep a bottle or two in the home, just in case, pre-made that you can pray on, or that you make for yourself in that way. Most have 7 or more ingredients. So most have 7 or more ingredients, but you should not feel afraid to add personal choices. Keep it simple if you have to keep it simple, or if you like to keep it simple. Make it your own. There's no specific ingredient. This is the only way to do it. This is you know what I mean? And so with that said, I will read off some of the ingredients. You'll start off with a clear 80 proof liquor, pretty much preferably vodka, but I think other liquors can also be used for cleansing, but don't take my word for that. Vodka, I'm pretty sure, is the usual. So ingredient ideas to put into this clear liquor. You can put it into its own separate bottle. You can buy a bottle specifically to use for this. So you can put in 3 cinnamon sticks, 20 cloves, petals from a rose, sprigs of jasmine, sprigs of basil, sprigs of lemongrass, sprigs of rosemary. I didn't even put that in here, but I'll just say that because I know I've got that in the backyard somewhere. The flowers of any flower you prefer, preferably edible, but for the most part, you shouldn't be drinking your Florida water. You know what I mean? It's for cleansing. So yeah, you can technically put pretty much any flower that really speaks to you personally. Morning glory is, or should I say, the high John flower is a type of morning glory, and morning glory grows all across the United States. So that's a really powerful one to use symbolically, but also use which one speaks to you, personally. Heads of lavender, star anise, use 2 of those maybe. I don't know if they'll fit inside of a bottle head. Maybe you'll have to break it down, but put some of that in there. Some orange, lemon, or grapefruit peels, bay leaves, and of course patience and time. Definitely you're gonna need a couple weeks at least to let this all kind of marinate together and come together. Other additions: essential oils. Suggestions include ylang ylang, eucalyptus, myrrh, sandalwood, your favorite scents, local wildflowers and leaves gathered from your city or town. And that can be your hometown or home city, your adopted hometown or home city, where you live, where you've been living, a city you're trying to connect with on a better level. Add crystals to the jar during the infusion stages. Amethyst, rose or clear quartz, obsidian. Those are good ones. Research other crystals that might work for your needs, and be sure to research because some crystals are water soluble or not water soluble, and some are water soluble. It will just depend on what you want. Do you want your crystal dissolving on you or not? Be careful.
Bye-bye.
Okay. But yeah, if you want your crystal dissolving, if you're okay with that, you can do that. Some people do that with like selenite, I think that's called. I think that's one that just dissolves up in the water. We have fluorite, I think, also will dissolve on you. It just depends. That's why you can't use certain ones for yoni eggs. I talk about that in this book because people will put anything out there shaped like an egg and tell you to put it in your yoni. And some of those crystals are, it's just not safe. It's just not safe. So in this case is the one time that I say you will smoke cleanse the tools and stuff, because if you're making Florida water, I'm assuming you don't have any. But I mean, if you do, you can just sprinkle everything with the Florida water you do and prepare yourself for this creation. Place the ingredients in your jar. You're going to massage the herbs, especially the fresh herbs, which is hopefully what you mostly have. Before placing in the jar, offer a prayer to the ancestors as you massage and as you place. Speak freely from the heart. Say a chant. Say a mantra. I also have some chants and mantras elsewhere in this book. Pour the vodka onto the ingredients slowly and steadily. You can choose to just cover the herbs or completely immerse them in double the amount of liquor. Seal the jar as tightly as you can with the lid. Make sure all the herbs are like in the vodka. Hold the jar with one hand on the lid and the other on the bottom. Swirl meditatively, infusing the healing energies of your ancestors, your spirit guides, of yourself. Really meditate on what you need this Florida water to do. You can just say the word cleansing, or just say one word, one power word, if that's like all you would really like to do and you just want to focus heavy on that one thing. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll have a very heavy, and then make sure you label it with that power word so you remember which jar is which. You know what I'm saying? So then you're going to choose where you would like your Florida water to infuse and charge when you're done. Preferably, you should just dig a hole in some earth and bury it. Consider using a safe hidden place in your local wildlife park. If you're lucky enough to be near one. When I was in Santa Cruz, I miss it so much. I would just get up, walk that 10 minutes down the road, and I'd be at a vast space, and I could pretty much, it was like my playground. I could do whatever I wanted. I could pick flowers. I could, dig a hole and bury a jar and remember where it was and come back to it a month later, and nothing could have happened to it because no one would have known. It was the wildlife, or the wild park, you know what I mean? So you can also, if you do not have that opportunity, you don't have a backyard or a front yard or a side yard or a local park or somewhere where you can kind of sneak off and like bury something real quick for a month or so or a couple weeks or so. You can also just choose to put this type of stuff in your closet, under like stairs or under a bed, in the closet, somewhere like that, somewhere dark, however your living situation allows. You can also choose to get really particular with your Florida water, charging it only under the sunlight or only under the moonlight, charging it and like label it. Make sure you label what you've done, or maybe you have a chart on the back that says exactly when this thing was charged, because you're charging it at random times. And, it's just whatever. You're like, oh, I like the sound of that blood moon. I really like the feel of this midday sun, and I liked how the midnight moon felt the other night, and then we had this moon. You know what I mean? Like, like you can just make it up to yourself. So let's see, we have whatever your choice, be purposeful, follow your intuition, do not be satisfied until I hopefully months, but perhaps weeks. It depends on your situation. The first batch may be the quickest because you need it, but then as you go on, hopefully you're keeping up and you're able to, you know, keep a jar steady on you, and you know, put in that months of work into each jar that you make. Write down, record what you do in your book of power, so you'll be able to do it next time. So you'll be able to record it for posterity's sake, to pass on. If you are super pressed for time and you need this to go quicker, suggested that you heat the vodka very lightly, just to slightly overwarm on the slow. Then you add the herbs, and cook them all together lightly for 30 to 45 minutes, allow to cool, add to the jar, and allow to sit as long as possible, and then you can use that one. So that one could be used potentially the next day if you were like ridiculously pressed, but again, like it would be substantially weaker than something that we were working on for months and months. When you're finished, keep your Florida water in the fridge. And you could actually keep it in the freezer, I think, because, you know, it's vodka. Mix it with equal parts of rain or spring water for use on the body, so you can just dollop it into your bath. That's like way more than enough. But if you're putting it into your, let's say you're doing a spiritual bath to pour over your head, that you're preparing the bowl, it would be half and half Florida water, half water, and then you could put flowers, other herbs, things that you so desired. Ways to use your Florida water, I put a few. So it's known to remove negative energies, preparing people and items for blessings, encouraging people towards expression and emotion. You can wipe down items on your altar, your other sacred spaces, wipe down a room or your new home if necessary, wash the floors of your home to usher in prosperity and wellness. You can do this on Monday to honor your ancestors, a tradition adopted by many who practice hoodoo from the voodoo religion. Use a cup in the mop bucket or when washing the laundry, so add a cup of it to your what's it called? Just add it to your bucket or whatever when you're washing the floors, and then also adding a cup to your laundry, because when you go out, you know, your clothes are just picking up willy-nilly from everybody. And I don't know if I said that other thing enough. I'm pretty sure the voodoo religion that started honoring the ancestors on Monday, and that's something that has spread to a lot of others in the diaspora. So you can also, add a couple of drops to a bowl of water for blessing water, for a ceremony, or just for you to kneel at the altar. Just add a couple drops, simple blessing water. You can have a refreshing cleansing spray, mix a few tablespoons into a spray bottle with water and some additional essential oils if you so choose. Spray down yourself, family, friends, rooms, chairs after an unpleasant guest leaves, the doorway, however it is, just keep it ready to spray. You can add a dash to your sacred goddess bath. Bathe a cowrie shell in a bath of Florida water, and then add this cowrie shell, or add it to your clothes or your wallet, so it's the inside pocket of the jacket you always wear, the cloak you always wear. Bless your sacred gathering by creating a spiritual circle made with libations of Florida water, either pure or diluted with spring, rain, sea water, used to pour libations. Place as offering water on the altar. After moving into a new home, bless it and get to know it. In a bowl, mix preferred herbs. A common one is basil and ice. Anoint your doors, windows, and wash the floors to bring prosperity and love to your home. All right, so then, move into your home, bless it, get to know it, host rituals, put in a bowl, put the Florida water and some herbs, and just with a rag, do a simple wash down of the windows, the doors, the floors. Just anoint your home so that you can bring in that prosperity, safety, and love that you're looking for in there. So those are two very powerful sacred space tools, the Florida water and the broom. So now I'm going to go find my Sacred Woman book so we can get that full circle knowledge on the broom, the cinnamon broom. So I'm sitting here with Queen's book and reading out, sweeping out bad vibes. I feel like I read this already, but I'm not sure if I read this last week, so bear with me. We're going to go through it again. So she talks about sweeping out the bad vibes with the cinnamon broom, and how this is something that originates from West Africa. People would sweep the earthen floor to the bare, bone of the floor. You know what I'm talking about, how when you get down to the bottom, I'm sure as a kid you definitely tried this, to get to the bottom of like the bare hard earth and see how far down you could go, and that's how their floors look, is swept completely, even though it's a dirt floor, is still swept clear of dirt and dust. So it's also used for the negative energy. I've talked to you guys before about how, very interesting, the roots and dirt. I've talked to you guys before about, about sweeping goodness towards people, sweeping wellness towards people. It's not always like, and get that energy back at them the way it came, all that stuff, like, which just sometimes is necessary. But sometimes, you'll catch, you'll catch more, good things from your work if you are doing, working wellness towards other people. Like we've talked about, wishing blessings on your competition, that will take them far, far away from here, and you will never have to see them. Or your blessings on your, enemies, that you don't, that they'll be so preoccupied with themselves that they, are not here in your face. And so in the same way, you can always sweep blessings to people, sweep blessings to your crotchety neighbor, and see if that works for you first, which is, that should usually be your first mode. And then as things progress, you see how things go. So use the cinnamon broom or sweet smelling broom. She does note that, you can make your own concoction scent, and really work this. See, this is why, I'm gonna go into a soft tangent about the Sacred Woman book, because I feel like a lot of people really mock the Sacred Woman book now, and I think that's partially because they see Badu in them, and they're like, oh, that's not really my cup of tea, though. That's not what I want to be doing, which is valid. But then they totally end up bypassing this book, which answers a lot of those basic questions that I get over and over again in spiritual Black girls. And I'm like, yeah, you want to get that comprehensive text from somebody else, but the fact of the matter is that Queen wrote it, you know what I mean? And she did write it from her Kemetic perspective, but this is all basic stuff that Christian Black women, hoodoo specific only Black women use. And this is the methods. This is it. This is the basic, people trying to figure out how to infuse holiness and spirituality into their everyday, life experience. And, and then they're like, they kind of want to haha he at Queen, or, her Sacred Women, or, they haha he. And they want to, invalidate also, because, this is the issue I have, with some of, Badu's affiliations, is that she has affiliated herself with so many organizations that are safe spaces for women, that when she takes a stance that is, decidedly against popular culture's, perception of what it means to be a safe space for women, she then invalidates those safe spaces. So, she was affiliated with, Black-owned doula programs and midwifery programs, birth workers, womb healers. Traditionally, these are spaces where Black women have turned to go for trauma and abuse, and literally, it just, because people saw that, is basically what I'm saying, is that it's now invalidated in a lot of people's eyes, those spaces, such as sacred womanhood, such as the various organizations that, because she's not really affiliated with the organization, the dual organization, because that one doesn't really exist anymore. It like changed its name, and I don't know if they now have, you know, the same affiliation with her. But I mean, the fact still remains the same, is that, you know, don't let any of it invalidate you from the message, because the message is still so abundantly clear. You know, she's doing conjure, guys. It's like, it's simple. And so it's like, for the people who are like, oh, but I just want the recipe. It's hefty, but it covers the whole house, your whole body, your family, your relationships, this, that, the third. You're trying to figure out how to do all these things, how to manifest a relationship. And then you're so stuck up on the fact that, you know, this book was written in the 80s and she was talking about the black love and the black man and the black woman. And so you're going to invalidate the whole book because of that chapter, in which she has never, like, I think the closest she comes to even addressing being gay that I can remember in this book. And I've been hyper vigilant about it as, you know, a bisexual person. Like, I've been vigilant about trying to witness it in this book. And the only thing I can remember is when she asks, do you sleep with women and why? And there's no other, I think that's like a journal question at some point in the book. So anyways, my whole point is like, you can't get caught up on all these details. Oh, she's comedic. Oh, you know, these famous people are some of her followers. Oh, you know what I mean? Like, because this isn't like a religion. This is literally the lifestyle. This is literally Afrocentric, traditional lifestyle made modern, you know. And it's not as modern as it could be, like I said, because it's been a number of decades since it was written, you know what I mean? Since, like, she started this in the 80s and she wrote this in like the 90s or something. So I'm just saying, like, you know, it's been like a minute. And when she was in her heyday before the internet, there were just, you know, it was a different time. But that doesn't mean there isn't so much still valuable in here that is exactly what people are literally looking to reclaim and learn and, you know, practice, and have to be like, oh, come back and rewrite. Because it's like, once you become really familiar with the concepts in here, you can be writing your own things, making your own thoughts. You know, it's just one of those books where, you know, you could take it there if you wanted to, or if you recognize the tool that it is, that it's supposed to function as. So yeah, she says to make the cinnamon broom. Oh, this is what I wanted to tell you guys about, was the how to make it without the oils. So she says, use a cinnamon broom, sweet cinnamon broom.
Hi.
Be careful, Tyra.
Yeah.
What did she say? She says,
Banana.
boil a large pot of water, turn off the flame, add 2 tablespoons of powdered cinnamon. I'm assuming you could probably also use cinnamon sticks. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to. But I'm thinking she's talking about, most people probably have the powdered version. Place the pot on the floor on a trivet, and then place the broom in the water. Allow the broom to steep in the pot 4 to 8 hours. Remove the broom and shake off the excess water in a bathtub, and allow the broom to dry in the sun. It's super simple. So yeah, the cinnamon broom is just like one example of so many tools. And the Florida water, right? We talked about that too. Those are just some examples of so many tools that you can have in your home for cleansing. Those both have like the dual purpose, right? Because vodka actually cleanses, and then it also, but I mean, you shouldn't do the Florida water until you've actually, like, you know, cleaned your house, get the dust up, then wipe it down. But there are just, you know, some examples of the wonderful tools to make your house a sacred space, to make it come under your control, to make the energy kind of go your way. Because if you're the one cleaning the sacred house, it sounds, I mean, you know, the space in a spiritual way, sounds to me like, you know, you're the one, not at the advantage. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do it for. But I mean, you know, you're the one in a lot of the control of the energy of the house. And so it's up to you, you know, it's up to you what you're looking to maintain in that stuff. I wanted to show you guys, I've been trying to practice on my nails. Isn't this, it's like not that great. It's my second time, but you know what, I'm like, okay, it's pretty mediocre right now. This is poly gel. This is polygel. Those polygel kits people are buying on Amazon. I saw, I want to say it was Long Hair, Pretty Nails, talk about this stuff. But yeah, I was like, I've been practicing. This time next year, I'll be a professional. So for today's chalk break, I thought the theme should be communicating with the ancestors and talking with the ancestors. Just because, you know, it's still off of my theme from the weeks before about Queen's journey isn't your journey, finding your journey within the words that you're hearing other people say. So I thought, you know, let's just talk about ways to communicate with the ancestors, or ways to talk with the ancestors. So the first way I recommend to talk with the ancestors is to literally just open your mouth and just talk with the ancestors. I think it's become so ingrained in us to find it natural when somebody just busts open and praises Jesus. We don't blink an eye when somebody has Mother Mary's face as a sticker on the back of their car. We do not, you know, in any way think anything is crazy when something good happens and someone's like, praise Jesus, praise the Lord, thank God that happened. We are trained to see that as incredibly normal, even if we are not a part of that religion, right? Even if we are no longer a part of it, even if it's in some way makes us uncomfortable now, you know, the balance of the colonialism and the bloodshed and its connection to Christianity doesn't sit well with you, and so but you still don't ever find it strange or, you know, try and shut someone down who busts out with that expression, because it means something to them. It's something that you're going to respect about them, etc. So we need to change our perception of just talking with the ancestors, thank the ancestors, just talk with the ancestors, just opening our mouth and just letting words flow. For me, when I first started, I think that was kind of a hard thing for me, which is why I've spoken about how I type, or I'll just start writing, and then I'll just be writing these letters to my ancestors and just kind of pouring it out. And for me, that's a really easy way to get the words out. I'll type it or I'll write it handwritten. But starting somewhere, just starting with opening your mouth and letting out the words, letting out words come, just a conversation, because this is your family, and they are there to be accessed, you know what I mean? Of course, you know, offerings and libations and being grateful is all necessary, but so is that everyday conversation where you're just talking things through with the ancestors, letting them know that you're thinking about them, letting them know that you're kind of inviting them into these situations. Just talk to them. Just like, a lot of people are like, where do I start? I'm like, kind of the same way you started. Well, actually, I guess maybe not the same way. I feel like Christianity, because it's so recruit driven, you know, I feel like they have it's kind of like mass produced way of getting people in, and so then the people become comfortable with that. They're like, that's what religion should be. I should come in, you tell me what the hell's going on, and I sit here and listen, you know what I mean? And so for a lot of people, that's kind of what they're looking for when they switch to an ATR. But in reality, you know, it's gonna take, because we are kind of on the cusp of a spiritual renaissance, a spiritual Black renaissance, in which people are regaining their African traditional religions and their indigenous ways, their indigenous way of thinking, of lifestyle, of all those things. Because we are the cusp of it. It's gonna take, you know, us putting an effort where 100 years from now, someone's not going to have to put in that effort, right? Because we've already laid down the foundation, and then 100 years from now, somebody's going to kind of like, if somebody's interested, it's going to be obvious. There's going to be a church somewhere. There's a temple. There's going to be a beautiful space of worship. If not in their city, within a drive, you know what I mean? It's gonna happen. And as we all grow, and as we all become connected with the ancestors and connect with each other and encourage each other, that type of thing is going to happen, but it's not quite there yet. And so, we're not going to see that same kind of structure. It's going to take it from within us to pray, to speak out loud. There's not going to be somebody we can turn on weekly. I mean, I'm kind of trying to do that in some ways, mostly because I want it, but at the same time, there's not going to be somebody that we can just turn on weekly to get the word and just hear it and inundated in our minds. We're going to have to be those people. We're going to have to actively seek those people out, and we're going to have to, fill some of those blanks in for ourselves sometimes. So definitely speaking. The second tip I have for connecting with the ancestors is definitely getting a reading. This is a little bit difficult for a lot of people because it feels like everybody's offering readings nowadays. And, I will say this, you can't really know how good somebody is based on their pricing, because some people are very good, but they, for whatever reason, they don't think they should charge what they're worth. They maybe don't realize they're worth what they're worth, etc., etc. So you'll get people who are willing to pull 3 cards for like $5. Some really low thing, and you could get an excellent reading from that. You'd be using the shit out of that person, but you can get an excellent reading from that. So my criterion is not going to be, when advising you, is not going to be like this specific trait, this specific thing you should only know, because Hoodoo Delicious out there charging thousands, hundreds and thousands for readings and work. And she's not even of the bloodline, you know what I'm saying? She's charging out there thousands. So, and people will think because it's legit, because she's out here charging thousands. Meanwhile, there's like a legitimate sister out there with a legitimate connection to the ancestors who's charging $5 for 3 cards, giving you actual connections to your bloodline, and she doesn't even realize her worth. You know what I'm saying? So I'll go off the bat and say the readers that I really trust right now off the top of my head. We have Medicine Man. He also goes by Black Godcraft on Instagram, Charles Mason Medicine Man on Facebook, Medicine Man, the Hoodoo Man on YouTube, I believe. I mean, you'll run into him. He's a Gullah Geechee brother from the East Coast, and he's the real deal. I also highly recommend Big Liz Conjure. She is, a Mamba, so she's trained in voodoo, she's trained in hoodoo, and she also has a lot of connections with people who aren't even ATR. Like, sometimes, like, she'll host people on her stuff that's straight up, like, Wicca. Like, she's somebody who's been around the block, and she, like, knows a lot of people. But her classes are strict, like only people of color are allowed to take them, and same with Medicine Man. That's why I always promote those 2 top of the line, is because when they have consistent classes, which a lot of the younger witches don't. A lot of the younger witches and witch doctors just don't have that regular month by month teaching class, you know what I'm saying? And those 2 are a little older. They're over 30 at least, and they're definitely over 30. But I mean, I'm just saying, as somebody who's a little under 30, that, some of us, it's harder to maintain that schedule or, keep it all up. But those guys, it's like, guaranteed pretty much any month that you go to them, they're going to have a class. They're going to be able to set you up with it. They're going to have an easy way for you to pay for it and be a part of it and learn within the month. You know what I'm saying? You'll be a part of a class. You'll be, is starting your journey. And that's why I really, or you can get a reading from them really easily. It's just, they're a little older, so their stuff is put together. Liz has a website, and Medicine Man is just an old cat from around the block. Like, he knows what he's doing. So it's like, those guys is guaranteed you're going to get the reading, you're going to get the class, you're going to get your journey started, because they're a little older, they know what they're doing. And also, Big Liz is connected. I want to say her name is Marge. She's voodoo, like Haitian, and Liz is, I think she does stuff that also has to do with more American voodoo, but Big Liz has connections also with like a Haitian voodoo sant, and like there's a bunch of, you know what I mean, like when you get with the elders, when you get with the people who have been in the game a little longer, not only
are they more eager to connect you with people and, pass on the lineage? But they have those connections, whereas, I can connect people with people, but not in the way that somebody 40 years deep in the game can connect somebody with somebody. So anyways, I highly recommend them. For two younger people that I recommend, the Afro Mystic, or that Afro Mystic, I'm not sure which it is, but I know if you look up Afro Mystic, you're gonna run into her, either on Instagram, her website, any of that. She has been in the game a really long time. It's social media game, should I say, a social media witch, somebody who is kind of one of the first to bring it to the forefront, one of the first people to get popular that wasn't super ambiguous, should I say. Because the only two people, not the only two people, but most of the most famous witches that I've seen on Instagram that are ATR tend to be really light-skinned, ambiguous. You don't even see a curl sometimes. You're just kind of like, are you black? I don't know. I feel like if you have to question if somebody has like a ton of black heritage, they probably shouldn't be one of 5 other people who you maybe question their heritage who are leading the movement, you know what I mean? And as somebody who's light skinned, who also got a page that, got a lot of followers, spiritual black girls, I definitely, tread lightly, because I didn't expect that page to get a lot of followers. I didn't expect to put myself in that position as like a light skinned, or should I say mixed race black woman. It's hard for me because growing up, they didn't differentiate like they do now. You know what I mean? If you were like light skinned, it was light skinned. If you were mixed, nobody asked. Like, nobody asked for verification. They usually just pinned me as light skinned, and I never thought to question it as a kid. And now I'm like trying to change my language, because I'm not light skinned. I'm mixed. Okay, so I just want to. I'm like going off on a tangent about my mixed status, but anyways, my point is I don't know, there's a lot of them, I want to say, like, am I gonna name it? I'm just gonna name names. Why not? I'm always naming names on here anyways. We've got like the Trap Witch, the Hood Witch, the Tatiana Tarot, there's Bahati. I don't know. There's a lot of people who are kind of on the like lighter skinned, looser curled side who are really famous. And my point is that Afro Mystic, I do think, was one of the first darker skinned women to gain an actual following on Instagram, to gain, the recognition for what she was doing in the community, it wasn't, there's not even a question, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be real, like, there's, the Trap Witch, I'm like, I side-eye her just because, I'll be real, one time I saw her, like, she made a post about her black heritage, which, is kind of far back. It's like not her parents, but like her grandparents or something. In the picture though, she like kind of made herself like my color, or even darker, which is, to me, like, a couple months ago, y'all were mad as hell at a certain Miss America or Miss Teen America something who was biracial, who made herself look darker to win or something like that. Like, usually she looks really yellow, and then somehow she became my color in the span of a couple weeks, which tanning is a thing for the beauty community, but still it stings extra difficult when a biracial girl does it to the black community. That's just kind of like, when I saw that, all I could do is flash back in my brain of my screenshot that is still in my phone of the Trap Witch kind of looking darker skinned suddenly in a picture with a caption talking about her black heritage. So, it's just kind of like, sometimes, it's like, it's kind of a sigh. So that's why I really wanted to promote the Afro Mystic and Medicine Man, who are both dark skinned, full black, or, well, I guess it's, Americans, we're not always full black. That's not the criterion. Dark-skinned black people who are reclaiming the tradition, who should be at the forefront. There should be a lot more people who it's obvious. If I see your hand, I should see some kind of melanin. I don't know. It's a little worrisome to see people, especially because it's not like they're Latino, you know what I'm saying, necessarily. the trap bruja, I think she is like Latina, which is why it's also kind of weird to me that she calls herself trap, which is like an American thing, and she's not American. I don't know. And like, I don't know. It's just, it's like, it's one thing in the diaspora, we do get a lot of mixtures because one, there was anti-blackness, there was just rampant mixing. I mean, in El Salvador, I want to say 90% of people consider themselves mixed, indigenous, African, and European. 90% of people. So I understand down there it's like a little different. The dynamics is a little different. But a lot of the popular people, they're not from there. You know what I mean? And nor are they representing that dynamic particularly well, or if at all. You know what I mean? So it's just like, it's a little strange to see like more American looking people who it's like, whoa, damn, I don't even know where you're from. Anyway, back to talking with the ancestors. I highly recommend the Afro Mystic. I highly recommend also, Maisha is light skinned, or I don't know what she is, but Cognac and Conjure. Maisha is a wonderful resource for people who are looking to connect, who are like, I keep running into dead ends, dead roads. If you contact Maisha and, I think if you get a reading from her and really, make it serious, because some of these people, it's like they get messages from people all the time. On Spiritual Black Girls, I get messages from people all the time. It's hard to tell all the time when someone's serious. Sometimes their energy comes straight through, and then sometimes it's almost like, are you just trying to get me to do this for you? You know what I mean? This is like a big situation. Like, not only should you not just trust a random person who's paid you like online to do this, but this seems like something you should get a professional. You need to pay, you need to sacrifice, invest something. So anyways, definitely, if you are willing to pay people, if you're willing to, and sometimes it's like, if you come at them like, I don't have the money, but I do have this. Do you take trades? Can I work for you in some way? Is there something I do that I can give you? Because at this time I'm desperate, but I don't have something. It's like sometimes people just come and they're just like, do it. Like, there's this message I got, and this is a white girl who sent me this message, so it's like, I always like to laugh and share it. She sent me a message that said, all I want is for my boyfriend to come back to me, my family to love him, my house to come back, us to pay rent, our kid to be healthy. This, like, she sent me this, all I want. That's what she started with the sentence with. And then she sent me this much of like impossible tasks, bringing back a boyfriend who they have ruined the relationship. Just crazy. And like, literally, it reminded me, I used to watch twerking, like, it wasn't twerking, it was called hip roll, and it was the Walla cam on YouTube. And at the end of some of their videos, they used to post this girl twerking, and she would wear these panties, and on the back of the panties it said, all I want is everything. When that girl sent me that message, like, all I want is for him to come back, and for him to say he loves me, and for us to forget about the time when we tried to kill each other, and then for dang, all this girl wants is everything. And she didn't even offer to give anything to get it. You know what I mean? She didn't even try. She was just like, let me just word vomit these thoughts to anybody who will listen, and maybe somebody will take pity on me here in Russia or Slovakia, wherever she was from. She wasn't from America, y'all. But she spoke English pretty well. I mean, she nailed it. She nailed that sentence. But anyways, that's not how you approach a root worker. That's not how you approach anybody. I don't even think a Wiccan would appreciate that message, even as love and light as they are. They'd be like, no. What do you want me to say? I eventually, that message made me laugh a lot, but I mean, every 6 months she would remember me and send, and she'd been doing that since Spiritual Black Girls was not really even barely a page. She's been sending me messages, and you think she'd switch it up. You think she'd be like, now I've saved up $50, $100, like, will you listen to me now? But she never did. So this is me helping you out. If you're gonna approach somebody and you don't have money, try to have something. Try to come at them with a ton of respect. I think it's also important to just come at people with respect that you want to do spiritual work on you. Just don't put them in a bad mood, or don't like make them kind of like then they're reading your energy kind of sideways, because they're like, what are you after exactly? Are you after those answers, or are you just kind of trying to be a know-it-all and take over, run over people to get your way, that type of thing. Like, they'll start to read your energy the second you send a message. And so just sending it kindly, being clear that you're willing to compensate them for their time, being clear if you cannot compensate for them for their time, so that they know if they should even answer you or not if you can't. You know what I mean? You're gonna unfortunately run into people who are gonna be like, yeah, if you can't pay. They have a lot of people, you know what I mean? It's becoming more popular. So anyways, that's my other thing. Okay, what's the last thing for communicating with your ancestors? Okay, so the last thing I recommend is to get a deck that is for your ancestors. All right, let me take a hit because I'm tired of holding this. Okay, so the decks I use, I have, because like I said, biracial, I decided to get a deck for both of those. I guess it's not, is it biracial if I know, like, my people were colonized, so there's a good chance I have European in me? I don't know. Like, at this point, I'm so tired of the whole mixed conversation. I don't even know what people want me to say. So, at any rate, I did not get a deck with European figures on it, because my European ancestors don't really talk to me like that. There's like one that tries, and it's give or take, you know what I mean? So overall, I just haven't experienced an overwhelming calling from my European ancestors. I have experienced callings from my African ancestors as well as my indigenous South American ancestors. And so those are the two decks that I got. And it's going to be difficult to find decks that resonate with your ancestors. It may not be a deck that is specific to your country. You know what I mean? You may find that your ancestors are really able to come at you through Kemetic symbolism or Adinkra symbolism, even if perhaps you're not necessarily from those specific tribes or Egypt, etc. So really remaining open-minded. Like, there's so many decks out there, and a lot of them are animal-based, spirit-based, symbol-based. So you don't really, you don't even have to worry as much. A lot of, when you look up the origin of tarot, it's gonna say it started in Spain or Europe or something, and then it started with the playing cards, but then somebody made the deck. They're gonna say a bunch of stuff. The thing of the matter is that there has been basically the form. What tarot is, it's bibliomancy without the spine of the book, right? Cartomancy. It's bibliomancy, right? If you have a book and you flip it around, that's bibliomancy. And then you have cartomancy if you took the spine, ripped it off the book, and you dealt with the pages only. And that's tarot. That's what we call tarot today. And cartomancy has been around forever. The word tarot, yes, specifically might have popped up in like the alleyways of Spain at some point. But the act of having a bunch of sheets of something that have writing on them and are either cast, drawn, put into a sack and drawn, shuffled and drawn, spun and drawn and picked, and see where everything landed, that is ancient. And of course, yes, started in Africa, and there is ample evidence that Egyptians had a form of cartomancy, as well as many other types of Africans had forms that had leaves, that had paper that was made, there's various forms. So I don't think we should shun tarot, nor do I think we should even shun it if it's like the symbolism, if it doesn't seem like what you stereotypically should get. I keep trying to say that because I don't want people to feel like, oh, if it doesn't have Mat on it or Het Haru, that I can't get this. Or if it does not have Yamaya or, some sort of specific, super black, we're just not going to find that right now, especially. But then also, you might be called to a deck for a different reason. Maybe there's like the color symbolism, maybe it's the art, maybe it's, whoever the artist is. It just like, there's so many reasons. And so I do think you should be getting a deck that resonates with a specific bloodline, but I also don't think you should be caught up on specific modern symbolism to do that. Why? Partially because we don't honestly know. Like, I've been trying to study indigenous art, and the issue that you run into a lot in these college classes is that it's just not there anymore. They burned it. And then people died, and then they took the kids so that the elders couldn't tell the kids any stories. And then when the kids came back, they didn't know the language, so how could they tell them? And so things were lost. And a lot of the art that we have today that represents indigenous people is based on stereotypes from the 50s and 60s, when they realized that this stuff was kind of getting missed and like wasn't being recorded. And so they ran at the indigenous people like, what do you think that they were making back then? And so then they had to dredge from their own intuitive interpretations of what their ancestors were thinking. This was Native people, this was Black people, this is all up and down the Americas. And not just the Americas, I'm sure this happened in other places, because we see this type of thing repeated constantly throughout colonized places. But that's what I'm saying is, some of what we see now from the 50s, 60s, earlier 40s, 30s, like you start reaching a point where it's like, okay, people of color were just trying to reclaim something, and that's even back then. They didn't have the knowledge, and they were just trying to reclaim something. And then you get back even further, and we weren't even the voice. It was their voice interpreting what our art meant. And so, of course, it was derogatory. Of course, it misinterpreted a bunch of things. Sometimes it would write down verbatim what we had said, but there was no listening to what that explanation was. There was no obvious scientific observation. This is what they said, this is what's happening, this is the connection between those two things. I think, there was just, it was all, they're stupid, like, burn it, it's heathen, it's dumb, it's not even worth saving, it's disgusting and barbaric, and like, that was it. And so then, that's what people were intuitively trying to draw off of 50 years later, 100 years later. And it just wasn't, there was so much lost by that point, and there's no denying it. So what I'm going to say on that level is that then when you go to tarot today, or you go to any other modern method today, or you're trying to build, a modern spirituality that resonates with you today, just remember that you are working on intuition, just like we have been for hundreds of years. Sometimes we look at people from the 50s, 60s, we look at the fact that Maya Angelou and, Marcus Garvey, and there were people going to Africa, there were people coming here, and we were rallying each other for the last 100 years. But we have to remember, even they were working on intuition, even they were building something new from the rubble, that they had no predecessor. They were the predecessor for this new thing, this new venture, this new frontier. There is so much lost. And so in that thought, it's sad, but it's also, you need to feel the freedom to follow your intuition. And so do not feel ashamed if it's like whatever deck you magically end up with, or that you feel called to purchase, etc., isn't perfectly perfect and going to resonate with everybody else as well. It needs to resonate with you and your bloodline. So to wrap this up, what I do, I have the Dust to Onyx Tarot for the African ancestry, and then I have, I don't even have it in here, I want to say it's called the Zoltan Tarot. It's Xultan, I think that's the name. It's green. It's like either a Mayan or an Aztec. I'm like, you guys, I had so much going on today, and I haven't even used this deck in a couple weeks. So, and it's pretty relatively fresh to me, but I love it so much because the artist decided, is a white artist, decided that he understood that one of the integral parts of the artwork for South American artwork is that they had a whole storyline similar to Egyptians. It would be like, and so when you lay the tarot deck down, it doesn't have a border. It's a borderless for some of the pictures. And so when you lay it down, sometimes it will be like everything connects and you have a whole scene, a whole new picture every time. I really enjoy that one. And I think if you are Afro-Latina, you'll actually enjoy that deck too. I'm going to totally just go look it up on my Amazon account and put a link for everybody. But and if I don't, just comment that I didn't, and I will. Because I sometimes forget that I write these things, and then when I edit it, it's difficult. I used to do it a little different when I did it live, but like now it's just try and get it out. Because I'm always late. Just try and get it out. Okay, so anyways, so I will use that, and what I'll do, if I want a really thorough reading, if I want to just basic one, I'll just do, or it's like I don't have much time, I'll do 3 cards of each. But if I want like a really thorough reading on something, even if it's, sometimes I'll just do like my general life, sometimes I'll ask a specific question, and I'll lay it out like 9 cards each, shuffle. And or what this is what I do for when I do the 9 cards. I like to split the deck in 2 and just kind of mix them all together, and just feel the cards, feel the energy, and I'll pull 9 cards, take that deck down, lay those out, do the same with the second deck, 9 cards. This is a long reading. Like I said, this is like if you feel like delving deep into yourself. And I don't know, I've never seen anybody else do this, so I don't know. Sometimes I'll lay it in a circle. I've done that for like a year reading for each month. But if I don't have much space, just the straight lines will do, and just lay it out 9 and 9, and really read the message. And I feel like and if you only need 1 deck, that's fine. I feel like anything more than 3 decks would be counterproductive. I don't feel like it's usual for somebody to have that many ancestral bloodlines vying for attention, but maybe. But I do think like about 2 to 3 is pretty reasonable. And using 2 decks even for the same ancestry line could give you a really thorough reading from different like symbolic perspectives. So that's something else to think of. Like, let's say you have the Afro Goddess tarot deck and you have the Dust to Onyx tarot deck, or or you have like the Cat People tarot. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a fun deck. I've always wanted that deck, to be honest. I like every year on my birthday, I ask myself, like, girl, are you gonna indulge yourself and get yourself the Cat People? It's the weirdest deck. Like, you guys, the Cat People tarot, if you're ever in like kind of a weird mood to like be like, what is this deck? Like, and the reviews are just, yes, everybody's confused. What does it mean? What is this deck? They're like, the book itself doesn't even explain anything. The guidebook, I half want the guidebook more than the deck, because the reviews are just that hilarious. Like, people are offended, and I don't know, there's like a Leonian part of me with my mane that's like something about the Cat People tarot. I'm like, I think that deck, I know how to read it, but that's like 4 years of me thinking that and not buying the deck. So maybe this year for my birthday. I say that every year. July rolls around and I'm just like, maybe I should buy it comes back in my mind. I don't know what it is.
So our studies for today brings us to I will not pollute the earth, which I think is so profound that landed on sacred space. I'm always like, it's so profound when this study is happening in our lives right now. All right, but anyways, it's so true. Tyra and Taka, please stop. You're not being gentle. All right, so anyways, the reason I think this is so profound is because most of the pollution that we create, I think, happens in our sacred space, in our home, and also, I guess, in our sacred space in our body. But I think that's so profound that, the thought about, we're at sacred space. We're at this point where we're thinking about what we bring into our home, what we take in out of our home. And to bring that full circle, we can think about the fact that, we are creating so much pollution from our home, and how we can even take charge just from there. I was so startled the other day, like several months ago, and when I learned that most of those greenbacked, like something like 90% of each of those little greenbacked yellow sponges is like plastic. It's not, I don't know what I thought it was made out of. I don't know what I assumed it was made out of my whole life. It's just, it's the familiar sponge that's been there. It works well. So we use it. And, and that's when I was introduced to the world of, wooden stuff, which I actually love. I love my wooden scrubbies. I got a couple, just two little handheld ones just to see how I liked it. And I used one in the bathroom and one in the kitchen. I like the one in the kitchen, using it in the kitchen more with the cast iron. I think it works really well. But in the bathroom, it works really well too. I just feel like I used it faster. Like I ruined it faster in the bathroom. So I was like, I don't know about it in here, but I know there's other options. So I'm like keeping my eyes open. But anyways, so that was part of my idea about like polluting the earth. And then there's also the lifestyle that is promoted in here with the sacred foods produces less pollution, does it not? The idea of honoring your sacred space so that everything has a space in there, everything in there. There's no such thing as a junk drawer because you don't have junk. Everything has a purpose in your home. Everything means something. You don't bring things in that don't mean something, and you take things out that don't mean something anymore or have lost their meaning at some point. And so that also contributes to... No, we're not going inside yet, baby. We just got outside. Go play. Enjoy yourself. We're outside now because it's going to get too hot later. So, yeah, they're not used to being outside prior to noon. Usually we go in the afternoon, but it's like yesterday, I swear, we sat outside and I was just like sweating. I was like, we need to do this earlier next time. Okay, so, but yeah, anyways, the sacred space concept produces less waste. That has you buying less, or has you be more purposeful about what you're buying. Your sacred beauty has you purposeful about what you're putting on your face, what ingredients. So you're being more purposeful about those purchases. You're trying to purchase more within the community. You're trying to purchase more for this specific style that you're trying to do. You're trying to promote different, you know what I mean? Like there's all of this it all comes full circle to a life that does have less pollution. And then also we have to think about the fact that we're personally in this group, in this circle, trying to be more sustainable in general, right? We're trying to think sustainability over any fad, over veganism, or even over sacred womanhood if it came to that, which for the most part, sacred womanhood and sustainability so far as I've seen have gone pretty, parallel. There's not really a huge interest in not being sustainable. It's the point is to return back to that African natural lifestyle, as Queen would put it. And so, that's why I think that is one of the 42 laws, and that is something I want us to meditate on this week while we're, still cleaning up our house and putting stuff together how it needs to be put together. We'll also think to ourselves, how do we honor our space by not polluting as much in here, not producing as much pollution, because it's so easy in the home to just bring stuff in and cart it out, put it in the trash, and just forget about it, but thinking about how much is just cycled through your home, how much pollution is cycled through your home, how much your home produces, and how much you personally produce. I think, we'll realize, I think a lot of people are realizing, how much extra they pollute than is necessary. But that's just, because it's one of our laws this week, I thought that would be a really excellent one to touch on. So our Dinkra card for today is Menso Hu Kirtan, and it's this beautiful 6-pointed star, and it means I am not carrying your basket. It's a symbol of self-reliance and economic self-determination. It's to be free is to be self-reliant and accountable. The lessons learned and earned through creating income streams solely reliant on your ingenuity or skill are invaluable and can successfully translate to many parts of your life. Decolonize your spending. Ooh, what were we just talking about? Lessen the environmental impact of your lifestyle and financially support where you are respected. And then I'll also add to that, and where, you respect, where what has your respect. I see a lot of people sometimes, feel like obligated to do one thing or another. But I think, it's really important to have us recognize, that it's up to you ultimately to realize, which places, have that discernment. Create sustainable ways of living. So focus on being sustainable when you are creating. Don't just go for the fast fashion. Don't just go for the quick fix for something that, could ultimately be polluting or harming others. Invest in yourself and invest in others who are also investing in that way. Don't feel... Yeah, you can go. And what I was also going to say also is, you can be supporting your own, but then it's like, don't feel obligated if, the person's just selling It Works wraps or, the Slim Tummy tea or something. You're not obligated to, go after that. That's not what you're supposed to be supporting. You're supposed to be supporting the sustainable, the progression of humankind, of mankind, of, the Black community, all those things. It's also about alignment. I love that. So, if you're looking for alignment, for creating, a new business, new charity, new nonprofit, something that's, really beneficial for the community, beneficial for the earth, beneficial for the world, and you're willing to take on, your own burdens and your own needs and make that difference, I think this is a powerful symbol for that. You can get these cards at... Adinkra Living. You, Tyra, I wasn't giving it to you. Adinkraliving.com. Adinkraliving.com. I really love this deck. I always recommend it every circle.